I'm just enjoying the silence still.
I see that.
Yeah. It's like a nice awkward thing, you know? Welcome back, Tasties and Tastettes, to another episode of FTWGT Weekly. It's your boy, Lenny, joined again, as always, by my producer extraordinaire, Dante. Dante, hello. How are we?
What up, what up, what up?
Before we get into things, as always, if you could like the podcast, drop some comments down below as we go along. We'd appreciate that. Tell a friend, ask a friend, sub. Trying to be like an EDM
Yeah. Yeah.
Where was your beat drop, bro?
I'm sorry, I'm not a beatboxer. I didn't have the soundboard queued up for that.
And we've got a lot to get into this week. We're going to be talking a little bit about the movie from A24, Civil War.
Yes,
Rhymes. And then we got some news in the taste test. But before we get there, Dante, I want to share my life, if I could.
Tell the people.
This is my therapy. Whenever we get a chance to do this, I like to tell the world about what's going on. In the last podcast we recorded, I had a 20-minute diatribe about computers. Do you recall?
Yes.
Well, they heard. They heard, Dante. They were listening.
Yeah.
Because that bitch came to get me. We didn't record last week because my PC it unalived itself, so to speak. Its brain essentially just said, "I'm out. I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore with you."
It heard you talking trash and gave up.
Yeah, I can't take the verbal abuse any longer. I'm out of this relationship. And so yeah, it blue screened again and again and again until it didn't work anymore. But we're here now, right? We're here now. Computer's alive again. We got it a new brain. It got a lobotomy.
Wouldn't that make it dumber?
No, I don't know. I don't know what a lobotomy means. I'm not going to lie to you. I was just hoping it meant switching out a brain.
I'm pretty sure a lobotomy is when they take out part of your brain.
Oh, Hannibal.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, I do actually.
He just feeds the person their own brain. Yuck.
And he enjoyed it.
But we're going to turn over a new leaf with computers. That's what I think. Nothing but positive stuff for me about computers until the next time I have an issue. So only nice things.
Your poor computer's in an abusive relationship.
Yeah. You're beautiful. I love you.
Puppy love.
Yeah, you look great when we wake up in the morning together. When the sun hits you just right, baby. And then the other thing, because it wasn't enough that my computer fucking hated me, I got a flat tire. I don't know. Like, that's not a big deal, I suppose. But just like a minor life convenience that turned into a more like, I don't want to say major, because like it'd be like there's far worse things that could happen to me in my life. But it was certainly an inconvenience.
Definitely more of an inconvenience than a traditional just, hey, flat tire, gotta swap it out.
Yeah, like, and I don't understand how that happens. Like, I've been thinking about that, dude. So, like, Dante, I don't often say, he is a good friend, and he assisted me in trying to. I was struggling with swapping my tire out. Right, I'm an idiot. Won't lie to you. I'm not very handsy. Only with the ladies. You know what I'm saying?
Whoa.
And in a completely consensual way, by the way.
I wasn't going to clarify that for you either.
So struggling changing a tire, Dante comes over, tries to help me, and you get to the point. So like, I have to work in like an hour and a half, and we get to the point where like the nuts are all off. They've all busted at this point, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get to work on time. Like, this seems like it's going according to plan because nothing could go wrong now. We've gotten past the most difficult part of changing a tire, I feel like, which is just getting the lug nuts off, right?
Then
it's just like, no, the wheel won't come off. And what I've been thinking about is that would have sucked if I was on the side of the road.
Would have, especially since you don't have roadside assistance.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I can call Toyota.
Hmm.
I don't think I pay for roadside assistance too, though.
Interesting.
I don't know. It's a bridge I cross when I get there. Fortunately, I didn't have to. And like one small silver lining out of this, Dante. So yesterday I got the tire taken care of, and I thought I only had a portable air pump, meaning it runs on battery, and it's really just for my bike. It's not for it's for my mountain bike. It's really not something I've ever needed to use for my car.
Shit.
And it can fill a tire on a car, but the issue is the battery doesn't last that long on it because it's meant for small tires, right? So like trying to fill my big ass tire from empty to full, it died halfway through, and I didn't get enough air in my tire. So like I was just sitting there like, yeah. So I was like sitting there like, fuck, like what am I gonna do? And I found another air compressor.
Just had an extra laying around.
Yeah, so I had one, but I thought it had stopped working, and I'm pretty sure that's why I bought the portable one because I thought that the other one had stopped working. But I was like searching because I was like, I wonder if I ever threw that away. Let's just give it a shot. Like I got nothing to lose at this point. I don't want to pay for a tow just to literally get a tire changed. Like that's fucking crazy. I don't want to do that. And I was just like, let's see. And I tracked the thing down, and I found it, and it was a lifesaver, dude. Like I was good to go. I was able to get enough air into my tire. It was like the movie. It was like the TV show 24 though. Driving to the mechanic to have them change my tire because it's just like I have my PSI like tracker up on my dashboard, and I'm just watching as I drive as I'm losing 1 PSI like every fucking foot that I go, and I'm like. Of course, when I go to pull out of my driveway is when like 17 cars want to drive by my driveway. And I'm just like,
guys, I gotta go.
Like, let's fucking move, people. Like, and you know, I'm at an intersection. So like, it's a red light. They're all just stopped there. I'm like, we gotta fucking pick it up here, people. And then I get to like another like intersection and I'm sitting there like, well, I can't get stuck here. I got to get through this part. And like I had the air compressor in the car with me, so worst came to worst, if I needed to like pull over and re-up on some air, I could have done that. But you don't want to have to do that. And I managed to get to the mechanics with like 14 or 15 PSI like in the tire. So like it was getting pretty low, but like it was enough to get there. And I had to sit there for 2.5 hours to get my tire replaced because they were they were busy. Like they told me when I called them, because I called them in the morning, was like, hey, like if I'm able to get my car down there, will you guys be able to take care of this for me? Like I didn't tell him about work, but I was kind of just like, I need it done this morning. And he was just like, yeah, we're understaffed, so as long as you're like patient and understand like where it's going to take a while for us to get to it, like we're good. But yeah, it took like 2.5 hours of me just sitting there. And of course, I don't charge my phone overnight, dude. Like I'm habitually
gotta have a freshly charged phone for that scenario.
Yeah, like I'm a habitually like undercharged phone person. I think you know this about me. Like I generally like roll with like my phone on low battery. And I just charge it up enough to like get to the next time I charge. And I get there with my battery at like 22%. But I made it work. We're good. I just didn't use I just had like YouTube. I watched, I listened to a podcast or something and like turned my screen off. Because like as long as I can listen to something, I don't really need to be able to like scroll through mindlessly on my phone. That gets old anyways. Like once you do it for, the only thing I probably would have done was just like ended up on TikTok, if I had to guess, But how much do you think it cost for them to do that for me?
What, like $100?
No.
More? Less?
$25.
Really?
I swear to God, dude, I almost asked if I could pay more.
Who the fuck does that?
Well, exactly. I felt like it would have been insulting if I had have done that. I he said $25 and I like stopped and I was like, can I almost was like, can I just like can I give you guys like another 25? Like, because I asked you to do something super mundane and I really, really appreciate that you did it. I feel fucking dumb that I have to be here in general. But I was just like, I don't like you don't tell you don't tell the people how much you're gonna pay them. So I was just like, if they think 25 is enough, like fine. I feel like I should have to pay more because I essentially think they probably just charged me labor, right? Because they didn't have to do I provided the tire, I like all of that stuff. They just
I mean, labor
charged
rates
me.
at a dealership is usually like
It wasn't a
somewhere in the
dealership though.
ballpark.
I went to like my local mechanic.
Ah, okay, okay.
Fuck, I'm not telling Toyota that I would have paid them more money. No,
Yeah.
no. No, I would have never done that. But the small mechanic shop that I've gone to my whole life, like, yeah, I would pay them more money. They could have charged me $100 and I would have been like, that's a lot, but like, you know, I sure, like that's cool. And I like, but 25 was just so much lower than I expected, you know?
For them to only charge 25, they must not have had as tough a time as we did. I wonder what they had to do to get it off.
No, and that's what also I was thinking, dude. I was like, I'm so glad I can't see them take the wheel off because, like, if they just like, imagine how embarrassing it would have been if they just put the car up on the thing and it just came right off for them.
Well, it definitely didn't because you saw how fucking hard I was hitting it trying to get it off. But like,
Yeah,
they probably had like the proper hammer or whatever.
and it just came right off. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm back to square one. I have 4 tires on a car and I have a working computer. And we're back in action.
Sick.
But it's been a frustrating week for me. It's been a frustrating week. So you know, if everybody could give me sympathy likes on this video, that would make it a lot better. You know, that would
Get
make
some
me
sympathy
smile.
shares too, you know? Tell a friend, tell a
Yeah.
friend.
Yeah, all of that stuff. All of that stuff. But we did manage to make it to the movies this week.
That
And
did.
we caught Civil War. And let's get into that, shall we?
Yeah.
Let's start with performance.
All right.
So I asked you to pull up box office. In all honesty, I don't really need it. I have a good handle on how much money it has made. It made 25 million on its opening weekend. And it cost 50 million to make. It's the most expensive A24 movie that they've done, but it's also the highest grossing, and it's set to be a pretty good success for them. I would say at this point. Which not surprising. I think, you know, I didn't pay that much attention to the trailers, but I had seen it at least one time, like one good time to like. And I was like, oh, this is a good trailer. And I think just the idea of like a modern Civil War. You know, I talked to you after I got out of the movies. I think especially where the world, not so much today, I think like we're in a slightly better place. But I think like over the past, you know, 5 to 8 years or so, the temperature in the country has like fluctuated a lot. And I think the idea of like civil unrest is a lot more relatable to us right now. And I think just the premise of a modern day civil war is an enticing enough idea for a movie that people it was gonna gain interest to get people out to see it, right?
I definitely love the concept, but I didn't see any of the trailers going into this. So like I didn't even fully know what the concept was.
I think the other part of it is like, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we've gotten like a first of all, we haven't really gotten a war movie. Like, I mean, of course, like Dune 2 is a war movie, but I mean more of a traditional war movie. Um, in a while, we also haven't gotten like a more traditional like thriller action movie. I
Okay.
feel like this year, at least, like I feel like this felt different than anything else we've seen this year so far.
I mean, yeah, definitely.
And you know, as we get more towards the summer, I don't really like. I can't really think of anything else that's like necessarily like this that's coming out this year. And I guess what I mean is like real characters, not like a lot of like CGI. It's not a superhero movie. It's not going to be Planet of the Apes. It's none of that stuff. It's not Twisters. It's not like a ton of there's special effects for sure, but like it's not a lot of like CGI special effects. It feels more grounded and real, and I think that's to its benefit. I think that being more of a traditional action movie actually made it stand out more to me in its presentation. And then on top of that, I think the actors in it are just recognizable enough. Like they don't have like Kirsten Dunst by no means is no longer like like I don't want to be insulting. I don't mean this in an insulting way, but like she doesn't do a lot of movies any longer, and like but I think she's a recognizable face, and it's like, oh, Kirsten Dunst is doing a movie, you know, like, or like you got the Jesse Plemons like scene, a little bit of that in the trailer, and it's like, oh, I know who he is, like, so it was just like there was recognizable actors, but at the same time they weren't, you know, A-list actors necessarily that like are box office draws. I think that those types of things all kind of lent to the movie having like intrigue and interest, and then once you get into it, I think it delivered on a lot of those things too, with an intriguing like premise for the movie, and then great acting performances all through it, with substantial action scenes to support that.
Yeah, I get you that.
Before we get into any type of spoilers, let's just kind of go through the plot a little bit. So I think the most interesting plot device that this movie has going for it is it doesn't follow like people fighting in the war. And I think that was the biggest thing that threw me off, and I'm sure it threw you off as well, being that you hadn't seen the trailer.
Yeah.
I didn't know a lot. I didn't go and read about what the movie was going to be about. I just knew the scenes that I had seen in it from the trailer were a lot about like just like the Jesse Plemons like little thing of like what kind of American are you, and like those types of lines were interesting to me, and this idea of like I didn't know if it was north south, like I didn't know what kind of civil war it was, but like this idea that we were having like a domestic war was intriguing. But instead what we got was the movie filmed through the lens of war photographers, and I thought that presentation lent to you being, it was almost like you're a fly on the wall for the war in a lot of instances, and I thought that was kind of a cool presentation. So instead of getting like this first person view of a character you know, shooting and killing people, you're kind of watching from more of a third person view of all of this stuff happening, and you're more of a spectator to it. And I think that it delivers on what the goal of being like, I never really thought. Have you ever thought about before seeing this movie what a war photographer's life is really like?
Honestly, before this movie, I'd never even thought about war photographers. Period.
Yeah, so it's not something that like you see. It's one of those things where you see pictures and you don't really think about what the people who took them have to like have to go through, right? And I thought that was like one of the most interesting parts of this to me. It was like the idea that you are in it, like you're right there in it, and like their whole point of like we don't pick a side, right? Like there is no side in our war. It is just showing what's happening. It's letting the people who view our pictures, that view our content, are the ones that decide their opinion on something, but it's not our job to decide our opinion on what's happening or tell you or make our minds up as to what is right or wrong. It's our job to just see it and document it. And I thought that was one of the most interesting like premises, because it allows you as the viewer while you're watching the movie to make your opinions up about it. And it's like, and really what it shows you through the whole thing is war is disgusting no matter what side you're on, right?
Yeah.
Like it's unforgiving, it's violent, and you're really thrown into this from the very, very beginning of like how the violence and how it's and the great thing about this movie is it follows them driving through a lot of the United States. So you see this violence, and it's spread it's not just one area. It's not just like, hey, New York City's under attack, or like the state capital's under attack, or like they're taking out all of California. It's nothing like that. You know, it's like little pockets all throughout the United States that are dealing with this. And you even hear about parts of the United States that are ignoring it and
Yeah.
are like acting as if it's not happening, you know? And I think that that's very realistic too, that you would live in Montana and be so far removed from it that you would just sit in your yard and you're on your like 20 acres and be like, it's not happening to me, so it's not affecting me. Um, the I think the acting performances for Kirsten Dunst not doing a lot. Can you see what else she's done over the past like 5-10 years? I think, for her, being that I haven't seen her do very much, and she's most recognizable, obviously, for like her early 2000s work, and Spider-Man being the most prominent. But I also like another one that stands out to me is Crazy Beautiful that came out in like 2001.
Okay.
I can't really think of her doing very much else outside of that. And I don't know if it's like starts a family or what it was that led to her not doing as many roles. And I don't know what drew her to doing this, but I thought she stands out in terms of a lead actress, and her character being that she's been a war photographer for a long time. And I think you're able to feel from her the toll that type of thing can take on a person's mental state. And how it can really affect you, and I think you get that throughout most of this movie. And I think the younger girl whose name I can't remember at the moment, um, being kind of a picture into her past almost. And I think a lot of people do this at jobs, and like this is a job that this woman loved, but I think you do it a lot of jobs that you don't like. You look at younger people getting into the job that you're doing, and you're like, don't be me, like don't. Like I understand why you want to do this and why you're interested in it, but like I know what it looks like 10, 15, 20 years from now, and you don't want to do it. And I think for her it's like you kind of see some of her flashbacks to some of her images that she shot, and it's just her being okay with being feet away from like people being murdered in the streets, you know? And the impact and toll that it had on her, and just her how it's kind of eroded away at her emotional response to like intense situations. But in I think in a short version, the younger girl, you see her go through in the span of days, like more experience than anybody's gonna have in a lifetime, and like these ups and downs to what this is, and even the desensitification of what the job will do to her if she keeps doing it, you know? I want to get into spoilers because I don't know how much.
That's where I'm giving you one word answers. I was like, are we doing spoilers or like?
No. I don't want to. I think I think to give a review without spoiling anything, I think I basically hit all the major points here. I this is definitely one of the best movies that's come out this year to me.
Yeah.
I think it was gripping from start to finish. The performances, the plot, the build to the entire movie, the action sequences. I think everything lives up.
Which that's
It's
a big one too. Is like, remember, I initially suggested we were just gonna go watch this at the regular theater, and you were like, "No, we should watch it in Dolby." And I'm glad you made that call.
yeah. I think from a visual standpoint, the cinematography is one of the standout features, and it kind of has to be in a movie that's built around photography and videography and documenting war. I think that they just like the basic photography in it is fantastic, but there is some beautiful cinematography that is used in this movie, from the way that they line up certain shots and what you're supposed to take from them without words being said at all. The things that you're able to gain from some of the cinematography in this movie is incredible.
The
And
use of
then
like freezing a scene with the photography on the screen.
yes, yeah, and then to boot, on top of that, you have the use of the Dolby audio is fantastic in this. I think the panning audio in this movie stood out to me so much. From the sound of like helicopters flying across the entirety of the theater to sound like being able to hear things behind you, in front of you, to the right, to the left. I just thought that they took it. That's what takes. I think that that's what sets this movie apart in some ways, of being like $50 million in a modern day is not a crazy budget for this kind of movie, right? There is a world where a movie like this has $100 million budget. But what they're able to do is keep something that is grounded, and they saved a lot of their budget for what felt like the third act of this movie. And they were able to make this movie thrilling and draw you in through its audio and visual ideas. And whoever produced those things, Alex Garland is the director to this movie. Like the work that he's done, and we talked about this in a lot of movies recently, where I'll always go back to like ISS being something we talked about at the very beginning of the year, in that what it feels like bad directing, or a more rookie director, maybe not bad, but somebody who's less experienced, how they can take away from a viewing experience. And I think that a movie like this really shows you what a director with a really solid vision, and I think Dune with a much higher budget, but with another director who had a vision for what their film was and how they can execute it to perfection, can do for a movie. You know, like when you have brilliant directing, it's almost like the budget doesn't matter. Like they can make something work out of whatever they're given. So yeah, definitely recommend
He's
watching.
not a super established director. I'm looking on IMDb right now, and this is only his 5th project.
What are the other ones?
Ex Machina, Annihilation, Devs, and Men.
Okay, and you're aware that like Ex Machina won a ton of awards.
Yeah. And that was his first one.
And,
so like,
and Annihilation is considered to be very, very good as well. Like I think that like regardless whether the length of experience, the experience that he's gotten from the movies that he's worked on, and like obviously is already kind of a prodigy just in his vision alone.
But even based on that, right? Like something like Ex Machina, that was his first work, and he fucking killed it with that one. You know what I mean? So like,
yeah, it just shows, yeah, like what a guy who has like tremendous vision can do for a film. Yeah. And I don't think any of them are huge budget movies. Like Annihilation was probably like, I don't think Machina was that big of a budget, and I feel
pretty
like
sure that was an indie movie, so it's
yeah, and
low budget.
And then I feel like Annihilation had like Natalie Portman in it and stuff, so it had like a decent budget, but nothing crazy. Highly recommend seeing it. You know, if you don't want to listen to spoilers, we'll have time codes. Like just skip past this, but let's get into it. 3, 2, 1. Spoiler. I don't even know where to start with spoilers to this. Like, I think immediately the thing that draws you into this movie is within 5 to 10 minutes of the movie, you're in New York City at like a protest, and you just get a girl with an American flag who sprints past the group and is a suicide bomber, right? Like she runs in and blows it up, and it's not so much the act. The act already is like, what the fuck is going on here, I think. But it's the way that they handle it, because what you get after that is
the
like,
way they react to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like 2 minutes of just like concussive silence. Like you being in you're drawn in because of like the explosion for the people who survive it is such an impact that you can't hear anything, and you as the viewer are drawn into that because we can't hear anything either. Now we're just seeing visuals, and it's not one of those things where it's like we've seen that done in movies before, but generally it's like a 30-second thing, and then slowly like audio starts to come back into focus, you know,
as impactful as it was here.
Yeah, like, and what it is like you have 2 minutes of almost complete silence, and you're watching things play out, and I think you're immediately introduced to what Kirsten Dunst's character is and what she's going to be, because despite all of this, despite the fact that there's mass casualty around her, despite the fact that she was just in an explosion of that magnitude, that her first instinct is I can't hear anything, and she just gets up and grabs her camera and starts taking pictures. Like it's not like, it's like brutal pictures, right? It's dead people, blown up people, and she's just taking pictures of all of it. And I think that immediately let you know, it set the tone for the movie and it set the tone for the character that you were going to see play out. Because what you get from her character through a lot of this is, like we talked about in the non-spoiler, but to go more into detail of it, is like the she is desensitized to all of this. She does see it as like, this is my job, this is my obligation, and while these are people, it's my job to shoot them and to not be emotionally attached to the people that I shoot, right? And you slowly throughout the movie see that kind of get washed away. And I think what it is like it's a person at the end of the road, like it's a person at the end of the job who's looking back and being like, the realization that she's desensitized and how that's not healthy and how that's not human that she has, and it takes meeting this young girl to, I think, wash away a lot of those layers.
Yeah, and that doesn't happen right away, but it develops throughout the movie.
No, and we'll get into it as we kind of progress through here, what the actions are that get her, because there's obviously one major thing that happens that sets this off, right?
Yeah.
So her coworker, is his name Jesse or
Joel?
No, it's Joel. I was gonna say it's a Last of Us guy,
Which is part of why we kept thinking Last of Us.
It's weird that his name's Joel and he looks incredibly like Joel. So they have decided that they're going to, the one thing that this movie, I think it's not a struggle because it's left for your interpretation, because again, like the whole point of the movie is that there isn't a right or wrong side in the eyes of the reporters. In their eyes, they're filming either side. They're not picking a side. So you're as the viewer not made to pick a side in this necessarily. But the one thing they do make clear at the very beginning is that the president is the problem, right? The president is in his third term, which already is an issue. Not supposed to happen. And the president has made it okay. He's been killing U.S. citizens, right? And I think that that's where a lot of the civil unrest has come from. And I actually was reading the IMDb trivia page, and they said that Alex Garland, the director, made a choice with the pairings of California and Texas being like the first alliance that you hear about in this movie. And the reason that he chose those two states is because he wanted to show that two states with very objecting political stances could have a truce and a line on something like this, because a corrupt president is doing something that is so unconstitutional. And that's why he chose to link those two states together. And I think when you hear that, it makes that stuff make a much bigger difference. And the quote actually that he said is, are you saying that extremist politics would always remain more important than a president of this sort? That sounds crazy to me. And I think that in a perfect world, I don't know if it would work like this, unfortunately, because I think we live in a world where extremist politics is where this line is drawn for a lot of people, and that it's not as simple as just seeing the difference between right and wrong. I think we saw that a lot in the early 2020s, late 2010s, like that it wasn't always as simple as seeing like the difference between right and wrong, but you'd like to think that people would be able to make those decisions for themselves, right?
Yeah.
So they are going to go, and their goal is, nobody has been able to interview the president. Nobody has been able to get even close to interviewing the president. And they've decided that before was it a ceasefire like that's being signed, basically, like that they were under the impression that like they were going to,
I don't
that
actually
the war
remember what the event
so essentially
trying to avoid was, but
that the war was going to end and that the president was going to win, essentially, is what I believe it was.
Yeah.
You know, and they want to interview him and get close enough to interview him before this happens. So they're going to drive to DC. And you end up, the two of them are going to go, and you end up with two people who tag along. What is the older gentleman's name?
Sammy.
Sammy. So Sammy is a older reporter, walks with a cane, overweight, been in the game for a million years. It's kind of Kirsten Dunst's character's like mentor, it would seem, even like a father figure to a point in this world. And he wants to go with them to film not the presidential stuff, but he wants to be on like the front lines when all of this comes to an end. And then you meet the young girl who you had met at the New York scene with the suicide bomber. Also finds a way to kind of work herself into this role as well.
Yeah.
The very first, there's like impactful scenes that happen every 15 to 20 minutes in this movie. So you get the suicide bomber, and then you get a little bit of a plot build. And then the very first thing you get is they stop at a gas station, and you immediately like find just like the redneck dudes who would like thrive in a world like this, you know?
Yeah.
It does seem like the Civil War was always built for the rednecks, right?
Well, because they're always preparing for war. They always got their guns.
Exactly.
They always, fuck the government. They were ready for this.
You know what's another interesting part? This movie was released on April 12th, which is exactly 163 years since the original Civil War. They released it.
That can't be by mistake.
Yeah, no, I don't think it was, but it's really cool that they did that. So you're at a gas station, and behind the gas station, you just have two men that are just hanging. Like, they're not dead. They're hanging by their hands, and they've been beat nearly to death, like swollen to a pulp, bleeding. And it's a culture shock to the young girl, and the complete opposite for the guy who's done this to them, who's like almost enjoy about it, right? And is like
basking in it, showing it off.
Yeah, like getting off to the idea that he's going to make this girl choose whether they live or die. And did you get the vibe, like they said he was a thief, but I get the vibe that it's more like he said, like, this guy was an asshole to me in high school, right?
Yeah.
And that like the worst kinds of people in these situations, it's more of an excuse to, now I can kill people and there's no...
It was just opportunistic.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, it's just like it very, you just have these things that very quickly like immerse you into the world that they're in, and that like just driving through these roads, these empty roads, is a dangerous task because you have to stop to get gas, and you have to come across people like this, and like these people who were not willing to sell them gas. Like they originally offered them $300, and it's like, that's not enough money. That'll get you a ham sandwich or a cheese sandwich, and it's like, and that's meant to be like, it's not even enough to buy both for you. You can't get a ham and cheese sandwich. We can't do that. Interesting thing that I read in the goofs for this movie, Dante.
I saw that. Yeah,
that they pulled up on the wrong side to get gas.
I didn't even notice.
I wouldn't have noticed it either, but that's funny that the gas cap was on the opposite side of the vehicle. Have you ever been in a gas? I was at a gas station recently where I saw somebody filling their pump from like the opposite side of the car.
Oh yeah, people do it all the time.
I don't see it very often. I was like, I would never do that. I'd be too embarrassed. I'd be like, I'm going to go pull around to the correct side.
I get why you don't see it often, but I think if you find yourself at like busier gas stations, sometimes you don't have the opportunity to turn your car around, and you got to just get to the spot before somebody else cuts you off for it. So you'll end up seeing a lot of people just go to the pump whichever way they can get to it, and then pull the hose over to the other side.
Buddy, I've been to those gas stations. I'll wait in line, like, to not be that guy.
The gas station on my way to work is like one of the busiest gas stations I've ever seen. Like, constantly always has like traffic flowing out to the street for this gas station, and so like I see it all the time there.
Why don't gas stations do it more like they do, on like the highway, when you get off at like a rest stop gas station and you can only pull in one direction?
The problem is the gas station I'm talking about, it's in a row with two other gas stations, and the other two gas stations, they have the arrows that like tell you like, hey, go in this way, come out that way. And people just ignore it anyways. So it's like, what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the problem. The ignorance of people, where it's like, you just like, it's easy to follow instructions. Like, but it's the thing you're talking about where they're like, I don't want to wait for the next pump to open. I'm gonna get on this one while I can.
I mean, this is always like either like the morning commute where it's like people are just trying to get to work and like they can't have anything hold them up for an extra few minutes, or they're on their way home and they just don't want to be on the road anymore. So it's just like people always have a sense of urgency, and it's just fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. So let's you progress more through the story from here, and like I wanted to jump to the Jesse Plemons thing, but I want to stop really quickly on the scene of like, so the first time you're introduced to more of the actual war that's going on here, you're at like what would seem like an apartment complex or like a some type of office complex or something, and you're following like the guys that are like the guerrilla military against more of your traditional
Yeah.
people in more traditional military garb. And there's a couple things I thought that were interesting here. It's first of all, it's the first time that you see the younger girl. And do you know her name?
It was Jesse.
Jesse. So it's the first time you see Jesse start to kind of become comfortable in what's going on, right? And become more assertive in her photography and start stepping out more into the like throwing caution to the wind or whatever, and like being right in it and taking pictures. And you have like a guy who is trapped behind a cement post and
It's
is like
a
kind of held down by
pillar,
gunfire.
column,
Yeah,
whatever,
pillar. Yeah. And held down by gunfire. And he ends up getting shot. And she gets like her first, what can be considered like amazing shot. And her first amazing shot is literally a man bleeding to death as he's like reaching like out for like help, essentially, like grasping for whatever life he has left. And like that, I think, subtly tells you like what this job devolves into, like like this is what you're signing up for. And like it's her first time seeing that I took this picture and like that's what this is. And there's this amazing visual of her sitting against a wall where they've thrown smoke canisters down, and the smoke is left on the wall. And we talked about this after we left the theater. I thought like it's such a simple shot, but it's her sitting in the middle of three different colors. And I assume it's something to do with like rule of thirds, right? Like it's like that symbolism of the photography, I think, was in it. And it's like artistically, I thought just like a beautiful shot that I was like, wow, that's great. And it's so simple. There's nothing, it's not changing the movie or anything like that, but it's something so simple that looks so cool that they did, that I really appreciated it.
Yeah.
But we get to what I think for most people is going to be the scene of this movie that's going to stand out for everybody, right? And it's the one from the trailer with Jesse Plemons. It is such an intense scene, such a well acted scene. And so I read this today. So Jesse Plemons, and I think he's actually married to Kirsten Dunst in real life. I believe he is, if you want to double check that for me. So both Nick Offerman and Jesse Plemons. Nick Offerman plays the president. Jesse Plemons plays like this crazy dude somewhere on their way to Washington. Neither one of them were announced to be in the movie until people saw them in the first trailer that came out for this film. And Jesse Plemons originally wasn't cast in the movie at all. The person who was going to play this role dropped out days before before they filmed it. And it was Kirsten Dunst's idea to be like, well, maybe Jesse will do it. And so basically like 2 days after he finds out.
By the way.
Yeah. And so basically like 2 days after this movie is filmed, or 2 days prior this scene is filmed, he finds out he's going to do it. And this is the performance that we got.
Right. That's only 2 days of prep.
This is a well acted movie from every performer in it. And we're underselling again. Was it Casey? What was his name? The older guy?
Sammy.
Fuck. Like we're underselling the impact that this guy has had throughout the movie. Like he is such an amazing supporting actor, and just giving little bits of like insight and feedback and thought to what Kirsten Dunst's character has gone through and what she's going through and what she needs to think about going forward. Like all of this stuff, right? Like he has been like just kind of these little bits throughout it that you're like, this guy is amazing, right? Like every time he speaks, it's great, and he's been such an impactor, and like it's really important once you get to this scene with Jesse Plemons, right? Because the way that the scene plays out is just so gripping of like not knowing, you feel like he'll kill anybody. And it's true because you're at a mass grave, right? You're literally watching them dump bodies into a mass grave. And the idea that like he points out, like Sammy points out, like are all those people wearing military uniforms, right? Like are all those people that they're dumping in there? No, they're people wearing regular clothes. Like they're not just killing people because of what side of a war that they're on. Again, it's opportunistic. It's that like we live in an unlawful America now, and that we get to make our own decisions about who lives and who dies. And for this guy, his line is whether or not you're American or not. Not just whether or not you're American or not, but what kind of American are you? Where do you fall in this America is what determines whether or not you potentially live or die. And I don't even know, as that scene plays out, that it really mattered at all, right?
No, it didn't, but it still did in the sense of like giving you insight to the state of the world in this world.
It built context into what's going on, right?
Like you get more insight as to like how radical people have gotten in this.
Because what you find is that he insta kills the two people who are not American, right? Doesn't even give them a chance at all. And what I mean after that is like there felt like he still was going to kill the other three regardless.
Yeah.
But Sammy, who had hung back because he was like, this feels like something that you're asking to die by going over and intervening. Because essentially, one of the newer characters we had been introduced, and Jesse had gotten stopped by these people, and you know they were the ones who Joel and I'll just call her Kirsten Dunst because that doesn't, you know who she is, like Lee. Yeah. They obviously feel some type of obligation and protectiveness to this girl because, first of all, Joel's the one who brings her in, and Lee is the one that she looks up to. Like it's her idol. It's the one that she's looking for insight and approval through all of this, and they can't watch her die. And I think this is another layer of washing away the lack of emotional attachment that Lee has had throughout her life doing this job, is that she's understood that by doing this job, you're going to watch your friends and your coworkers die. It's an aspect of this job that they've talked about, because they even talked about in an earlier scene when Lee and Sammy are speaking that like, when I die, are you going to take my picture? You know, like that's just something that happens in their job, and they have to disassociate from it, right? And I think that like they weren't able to disassociate from Jessie because she is young, because they did bring her into this. They knew it was a bad idea, and look where it's gotten them, right? And you know, the reason Sammy's so important is because he's had all these little bits and parts throughout the movie of letting you know how important he is to Lee and how she does look up to him and how he looks out for her, and genuinely you feel as though he cares for her, right? And what he does and is essentially sacrifice, right? Like he gets the car, he saves their life by just running over Jesse Plemons' character, which was awesome, by the way. Just like you felt the fucking thump of that impact of him hitting him with the car, right? And you get this amazing visual of Jesse falling into the mass grave, like, and again, like the level of like the desensitization on both ends, right? It's like it's resensitizing Lee, but Jesse slowly becoming desensitized to it on the flip side, right? Like living through these things that a girl in her early 20s should never have to live through, and seeing these things and how it affects her and kind of washes away that sensitivity, because she's a girl who cries after seeing the people hanging at the gas station, right? It was something that like really affected her. And this, she doesn't cry so much after
You don't
this.
say like I don't think desensitized is fair because like she was definitely traumatized by that. She even paused for a minute before she started moving. She just realized, hey, this is a situation I need to get myself out of.
But I think it's desensitization. It's sensitized like as you go to, I think it all gets to what we get in the third act.
It eventually desensitizes her because she's had more exposure to it. Yeah.
If you don't have that happen, I'm not saying in the moment that it didn't impact her, but compartmentalization, right? Like her ability to separate from these things as it progresses through the movie leads to what you get in the third act. And that's the growth of her character, is being able to separate these highly emotional, traumatizing things. And that's what makes you good at the job that they're trying to be good at, right? Is to be able to separate yourself from these things. Yeah. And I think what you're seeing, and it all culminates with this, is that I think for this scene, for Jessie, is the moment that shows her compartmentalization, right? Whereas for Lee, you get her being unable to any longer compartmentalize. It's these two like crossing, like ships crossing in the night almost, right? Yeah. Because Lee, in Sammy doing this, he ends up getting shot. And a father figure to her, a motivator to her, a guide to her throughout her life, sacrifices himself, and unfortunately doesn't live through this. And it breaks her, right? Like she has the pictures. She did take pictures, and she doesn't choose to keep those. She chooses to delete those, right? Like I think that was a major part of it. And when you get to the third act, which the third act of this movie I think is phenomenal, right? Like, yeah, it's where a majority of the budget goes to. It's a large part of the action in this movie, and you see, it's almost like a role reversal. It's Kirsten Dunst's character. It's Lee not being able to photograph anything, right? It's her being so traumatized by losing a loved one and what it does to you that she's kind of broken. And on the flip side, you have Jessie, who now is just running out into the middle of the street in the middle of gunfire to get the best shot available, right? Like has completely embraced this role now and is putting herself one time after another throughout the whole last 15 to 20 minutes of this movie. It's just constantly in harm's way, right? Like is running across the street before anybody else is running across the street to get a better angle on a shot, and just like willing to put herself out there for the content, right?
Yeah.
So let's get to the president scene at the end. So we finally get the Nick Offerman scene. We finally get them breaching the White House, essentially. And obviously, before we ever see the president, like the most important or the culmination of this movie is, I don't know how to really set it up other than to just be like, like Lee sacrifices herself, right? Like, yeah. As I said, like Jessie has been putting herself through this whole buildup now in harm's way to get the shot. And she decides, as there's a hallway that they're fighting down, to just run into the middle of the hallway, which what the fuck was going to happen by doing that, to try and get a shot down this hallway. And she does this. But in the process, there's still a gunman at the end of the hallway who pops out, and she's basically dead to rights here, right? Like she's going to die, and Lee sees this and runs out and pushes her down, and is the one that gets shot.
Yeah.
Did you like this, or what was your feelings on this? Because I think that this was the most complicated thing for me as to how I felt about the movie.
I had a feeling, right? Like they foreshadowed it with the whole like, when I die, are you going to take my picture? But I don't necessarily love the way it played out. Like she could have tackled her across the hall and like they both could have been clear. or like when you push her down, like get down, don't just stand there. I didn't necessarily love the way she died, but I also get why they did it that way for the angle that Jesse was able to take the pictures as she was dying.
Yeah, I think that that's why I feel kind of conflicted on it, right? Because I almost was let down when she died, and I wasn't let down in like a wow, that was a really emotional death kind of way.
It was more so like you guys cheapened it, or you didn't really give this the weight that it should have carried.
It was more like artistically for the way the movie was playing out, it felt like this was the end of the road for this character and we needed to get there.
Yeah.
Um, there felt like there was a lot of ways to where she could have lived and didn't have to die like this. Even if she, like, why would she knock this girl down and stay standing up? You know, and maybe the idea is that she wanted to die. I don't know. But it didn't feel totally satisfying, and it almost felt like a cliche for her
Yeah.
to die here. And I think that that was the one. I don't want to say negative because I don't think that it's a negative because I think that it's a fine choice, right?
I think
It's
it
an
would have played better if they had gave us something where, like, sure, she's out in the middle of the hallway and Lee comes out to get her out of the way. And maybe she catches a stray bullet to the side and, we get like a slow dying scene. I think that plays better than the way she died.
and I actually think I think I agree, but I do want to just ask for, like, sake of conversation. Is that more of a cliche to have this like dying conversation as she's like bleeding out?
I mean, yeah, more of a cliche, but I think it's possibly more artistic to what this movie was trying to be, you know?
And I think the thing is, it doesn't give you the shot that Jesse's able to take. Because what it is like, so there's a scene earlier in the movie, and I talked to you guys about this after we left the movie. There's a scene earlier in the movie where Jesse is asking Lee about like how she started her career, and she only knows what she's read on a Wikipedia page. And she wants to know more about the actual shots that got her to the point that she was. And she talked about winning these awards. And that's where it kind of set off her career for like certain shots that she had taken. And to me, that shot that Jesse's able to get, she snaps a picture of Lee as she's literally like shot and killed, standing over her before she falls to the ground. Um, like that's the shot that she gets that's going to take her career to those levels, right? Like to that stratosphere. And I'd said to you guys that I almost think that like the epilogue to this movie for me would have been her getting some type of recognition for that shot. I think that that's the closure that I needed for this to be worthwhile as the death.
Perspective, that wouldn't have been the shot that got her the award. The shot would have been the kill shot on the president.
Yeah. I don't know, like, because like that was their destination, but I don't know that that was the goal of the movie. Like that was what their goal was as characters, was to get there and get that moment. I understand that. Um, but I think the movie itself is about Lee's character, right? And her dealing with the emotional gravity of what this job has done to her and what these past couple of days have done to her, and her passing on the torch to another person, and the impact that it was going to have on their lives. And I think that we didn't necessarily get, I think you're supposed to interpret closure rather than I think I maybe would have liked to have visually seen it.
I think I prefer the way it ended.
Okay. And like, yeah, I think that's fine too, right? I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to it
I
necessarily.
I don't think the award
I don't
ceremony
know
would have been as
I
strong of
don't
a
need
closing.
I don't need a ceremony. Maybe it's her seeing it in a magazine. Maybe it's her sitting at a desk or sitting somewhere a month later after all of this has ended, and it's her, just, you see the recognition that she's gotten from it. You see what that sacrifice did for her.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily need like a a ceremony of her being brought up and given like a plaque for it or something, you know. I just think maybe her having a framed image on the wall of that shot on the front of like the New York Times or whatever magazines they have at the time.
What does that say about her character, though, that to have that picture on a wall, though? You know what I mean? Like,
I think inevitably she was going to have the picture on the wall because that's what Lee would have done. That's what Lee did.
I think that picture would be in like a portfolio in a binder somewhere, but not on the wall.
Maybe not on the wall, but maybe she sees the magazine for the first time that it's in.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's her walking by a newsstand and more of them like you see that the world is somewhat getting back to normal. And it's an article. She's walking by a newsstand that has all of her image on the front page of it, and like a headline reads like something about the sacrifice that Lee gave. Maybe it's like the last moments of like an award-winning photographer, like like something of like a eulogy for that character in a way.
I guess in that scope, I can more so get down with it.
I'm not saying I'm not saying that I want Jesse's character to be basking in the fame that she gained from this.
Yeah.
But I think that they set the idea up that like this is what that job is, and she executed on it, and it was through Lee's sacrifice. And so the final scene that we essentially get from the movie is Joel getting his quote, right?
Yeah.
And it's Nick Offerman playing like the cowardly president who's been hiding in his Oval Office while the world has gone into disarray, and all of this is happening and all of his soldiers in front of him are dying, and instead of going down with the ship, he's begging for his life, and that's the quote. And then they just shoot this guy 100 times, and Jesse gets those photos too. Really gripping stuff, top to bottom, beginning to end. Again, even if you've gotten through the spoilers of it, I don't think it does it enough justice to what it does visually to watch this movie. And it's thought provoking. I think it's interesting. It's a great premise and fantastic movie. I thought it was really, really good. Let's do our rankings. So what'd you give it what was your star rating, first of all?
Stars.
I have it at 3.5.
Okay.
I almost feel like I need to revisit that.
I mean, for me, it was just more so the impact the movie had on me. Like,
yeah,
it was literally like an edge of the seat. Like, you were anxious throughout the whole movie. You were deeply invested in the characters, and it really gave you a good payoff in the end. Again, broken record. Like, what did the movie make me feel? Like, made me feel a lot. Like, at the end of the day, I think that attributes to it being a really good movie.
I'm with you 100% on that. I think 4 stars is completely appropriate. I think I might have underscored it. This is where I come into like that 3.5 for a 4-star movie. If I could have given it like a 3.8 or a 3.9, I would have liked to have done that. Where do you have it ranked?
Number 2, just behind Dune.
I have it at number 3 for the moment.
Still got Beekeeper above this.
That's probably wrong, and I think I'll change that. But like as I was doing it,
no, you're definitely wrong. Beekeeper was great, but this is a better movie. Trust me.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'll change it. I think I might bump it to 4 and put it up at put it at 2. I just thought like when I was doing it, I was like, that's funny. Like I'm gonna keep Beekeeper in front of it.
I mean, it's already wild that we have Beekeeper in front of Origin. But yeah.
Cool. So let's get into we'll bang out news kind of quick because like we went really long on the review. So I wanted to run through a couple things. Joker 2 trailer.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
Honestly, have no thoughts. I don't know. I mean, it like I know that this is supposed to be a musical, and like the trailer feels like it's trying to lean me towards it being something else.
I think it's a musical, but I don't think it's going to be a traditional like everything just breaks into song musical
Yeah.
necessarily. I'll say this for myself. I've been very down on this movie. I'm down on the first one. I don't like it. I thought that the trailer was more intriguing than I expected it to be.
Yeah.
I'm very intrigued by Lady Gaga. I still have not watched A Star Is Born, but I just know how highly regarded her performance is in that, and I think that you're going to get another one of those performances from her here, where she just looks like she is incredible to me.
Yeah.
And I think we already know how good Joaquin Phoenix is.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that this movie isn't as mindlessly like mean and like unlikable from all the other characters around it, but it probably still will be.
What do you mean by that?
I just didn't like the first one. I've said this a million times, but I found the first one to just not be like there was nothing likable about it, and I think that that was by design, but I didn't enjoy that.
Okay.
Like just mindless, like the mindless bullying of this guy, and it's almost like I, I don't even know if they wanted you to be sympathetic to him, but like I think you end up like needing to be a little sympathetic to it. It's kind of like I always say it. It's kind of like Rob Zombie Halloween movie where it's like they spend an hour trying to make me feel bad for Michael Myers before he goes on a murdering spree. Like I just don't really enjoy those aspects of these kinds of like retellings of villains. You know that
But
they need to give you some subconscious like level of like this is why they are the way they are, and you should feel like maybe they aren't as bad as they are because like they were pushed this direction from all these things.
I mean, but that is the reality of how people get to that point.
Sure, but I don't know that the Joker character
Needs
traditionally
that.
has ever been
Yeah.
that. You know,
Yeah.
like but yeah, I think that the trailer for the moment, I was pleased with it. Um, it gives me at least a little bit more of a want to see it. The one thing I did take from the trailer is I'm like, where is the $200 million budget?
Yeah, that part I have no idea.
Like, there's a couple of explosions, but I'm just coming off of a movie that had $50 million budget that did similar shit. So
Yeah.
where is the $200 million coming from? Like, what the fuck? You know?
Yeah. I'll tell you, in the trailer, I
Um,
did really like the shot where she was like visiting him in jail and she drew like the smiley face on the glass, said, "Let me see
yeah,
your real face." I was like,
yeah.
"Oh, that was a
He
sick
hit that
shot."
smile perfectly
Yeah,
too.
I was like, "That was a sick shot."
Yeah. Well, and I think that that's what you'll get from this is I think like visually and artistically, it is going to be a very well made movie, and I think that that's what I also took away from this trailer is that like it
Yeah.
looks very well made, right? And like maybe that's what the budget needed to be for it to be this well made. I don't know. Maybe it's for whatever songs they're going to perform to license the songs that they're going to use.
Okay,
If they're
maybe.
not using all originals, maybe that's where some of the budget goes to. I don't know. But it did feel like a lot for what I see from the movie.
At the end of the day, it's a love story, so it's more your lane.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if this is my type of love story, but we'll see. We'll
Uh,
see. Yeah, it could be. Maybe it'll be my best rom com of of
I
2024.
don't know if there's gonna be a ton of calm here, but yeah, sure.
He's the Joker, baby.
Fair.
Next thing. This we've both watched season 1 of this. I think this could be interesting to us. So Heels,
Ah,
from Stars, canceled after 2 seasons, is looking to potentially have new life.
really?
It has been bought by Netflix.
Okay.
And the first 2 seasons are going. The first 2 seasons are going to be going to Netflix, and there's a chance Stephen Amell believes that we're going to get season 3. It looks like
If those 2 seasons get the amount of playtime they need on Netflix.
potentially, yeah, that could be what it needs, or it could just be like Netflix needs. Like Netflix always needs more content, and they're generally willing to pay for it. So, if they can maybe come with a reasonable budget idea and reasonable like story to tell, they could still end up getting it made. But I do think it would be largely impacted by who watches it, and it's a very good show. So I think that Stars is not a streaming service that many people talk about, nor do I think many people have. So I think that putting it on a platform like Netflix with a recognizable person like a Stephen Amell, who has had Arrow on Netflix for a million years and who has also had those Code 8 movies on Netflix now, has the cred with the Netflix audience that I think it'd end up getting people to watch it. So
Sure.
I just thought that was interesting. You might potentially be getting a season 3 of Heels.
That'd be sick.
Have you ever seen the movie Sucker Punch?
Never even heard of it.
So Sucker Punch can you look up what year it came out? I want to say it was like 2004, 2005. It's a comic book movie made by Zack Snyder. It's a movie I've only seen once when it was in the theaters, and I fucking hated it. I remember thinking it was terrible because most things that I think Zack Snyder's done outside of primarily like 300 have been mostly bad.
2011.
Wow, that late? Wow, damn. I felt like I was in high school when I saw it. I didn't realize it was that far after. I had thought that it was like pre-superhero movies really taking off, but I guess you had already had like Batman and stuff like that prior to that coming out.
Mm-hmm.
I again, I didn't like it at all. I don't think most people liked it at all. But the thing that was interesting the thing that's funny from this is Zack Snyder wants to fix Sucker Punch.
Fix it? How? Like redo it?
Re-edit it, re-release it. Like, this motherfucker sucks is mostly what I wanted to talk about here. Like, fuck Zack Snyder. This guy like puts out terrible movies and is like just let me get a do-over. like he did this shit with Justice League, right? And it's just he got away with it and he put it out and we just got 4 hours of basically the same bullshit. And it's like, let me go back to that movie I did in 2011, and I'd really like to go back and re-edit that footage, and I think I could do better. No, motherfucker, you had your chance. It sucked. Nobody wants to watch it. Nobody likes your shit movies. Like, stop doing them. And be okay with the fact that you're a fucking failure, because like he went on like the Rogan podcast and made, it was just a dick sucking of himself on there, and unwillingness to accept that what he does isn't good. And you shouldn't. I get it. Like, you should be your own biggest advocate. But like, stop asking for fucking do-overs. Stop asking people for more money to get stuff right that you fucked up on them the first time.
Yeah.
I hate this man. I mostly want to boycott everything that he does. Because even like he just had Rebel Moon come out on Netflix, and Rebel Moon 2 is going to be coming out, I think, later this year.
Yeah.
And he's talking about that, like, there's a rated R version of Rebel Moon that he recorded that has like more violence and more sex. And again, I'm like, shut the fuck up, dude. Like, stop trying to just re-release stuff. Just do it and have it be fucking done. We don't need to keep getting more. People don't want it, man. Like, people didn't like it when you put it out, so they're not going to fucking watch it just because you say it's rated R. Like, it's just bad. I'm done. That's all I wanted to say. That's my news on Zack Snyder for the week. I hope everybody agrees, like, this guy can go fuck off. Don't need any more of it.
Damn.
My last thing, and this is more of a personal issue that I have. I don't know if you've seen this because you're a YouTube Premium subscriber, correct?
Nope.
No, okay. They're increasing their price.
Oh, are they?
So it's $12.99. It's going to be increasing to $18.99.
Bro, this shit was like $10 2 years ago.
That's a huge jump. That's why it was off-putting to me. Like, I get a ton out of my YouTube Premium subscription, so it's going to be very hard for me to cancel it.
I mean, the reason I canceled it is because initially I was using it just for no ads, and I was using YouTube Music, but I've switched to Spotify, so I don't miss that.
I only use it for no ads, dude. I watch so much on it though. Like 30%, I'm okay with my viewing.
The reason I'm okay with leaving ads now is because I think I watched a YouTube video about like how creators make ad revenue, and they only get a small cut from like YouTube Premium viewers. They get more if you actually like get the ads and skip them or whatever.
I apologize to those people.
So just as far as like supporting the creators that I regularly watch, I think it's more of a respect to them for me to cancel my YouTube Premium membership.
I would say for the most part, a majority of the creators I watch that are big enough that like they're making money off of their super chats and like all this other shit. And like you can but like in addition to that, you can subscribe to people on YouTube now. You don't have to just be an ad revenue person. Like there's other ways to support your content creators.
But I'm talking about money they make that doesn't cost me anything.
Sure.
Win-win.
No, I just can't like I watch too much on there that I just don't want ads. I just want uninterrupted viewing, you know, for my viewing experience, which I think we have to consider both sides here. Like I'm all for supporting like creators, especially like small creators. I 100% get that. Being that like I'd like to be one of them if I ever could, you know. But at the same time, I think like you as the consumer, you have every right to like be like watch it the way you want to enjoy watching it, you know. So and maybe this gets them more revenue just by increasing premium revenue that they're bringing in. I don't know. But $6 is a huge fucking jump.
YouTube going the way of Netflix.
That's like a 30% increase.
50.
Yeah, okay. I'm doing it off of it being $18 and going up 6. You're right, 50% increase on there. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's got to be like the biggest, because Netflix has gone up a ton, but Netflix goes up like $1 or $2 at a time. They just do it twice a year. Like YouTube just came right out front and we're like, yeah, like this is you're gonna pay a lot of money for this.
State of the economy, man. They're just adjusting.
I guess. All right. So Dante.
Do you have it?
Do you have it? Taste.
No. Do you have it? Oh, damn.
No,
I thought we were doing a bit there.
Well, you can keep going if you want.
No, it's done.
What do I have? What do I have it, sir? What do I have? What is it that I'm looking for, sir?
I think you might have taste.
Taste.
Well, work in progress.
The digital one's always going to be difficult. It's way easier in person. So I want to start this one.
Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Ask away.
Am I able to rank a movie if I've only seen half of it?
No.
No?
No.
I'm not sure why.
Because you can't rank where it gets you to without seeing how it ends.
All right. So I threw away an attempt at seeing a movie. I saw Monkey Man, people. And I fell asleep. I fell asleep for the whole second hour. I couldn't tell you the last time I fell asleep in a movie, by the way.
And that definitely says some things about the movie itself. You're still not allowed to rank it unless you give it a full watch.
I don't want that to be a representation of me saying it's a bad movie. I just was mostly bored through the whole first hour of the movie. And for a movie that I feel like is selling itself on being like very heavy in its action, and this is why I do want to go see it. I only want to see the second hour. I don't want to rewatch the first hour again. But I do wonder how much how much action could there be in the second hour if I slept through all of it? None of it woke me up. What's going on here? You know, all I know is they were doing drugs at one point.
Oh,
I closed my eyes for what I thought was going to be 20, 30 seconds to get through this scene that I didn't care that much about. And the next thing you know, I open my eyes and people are walking by me to leave the theater and the lights are on. Whole hour gone. Blank. And it felt like, dude, I swear to God, I felt like I never fell asleep. Like, I felt like during that hour, I could hear, like, I was still in that same 20 seconds of hearing, like, the stuff going on the outside. It was the most mind-boggling feeling in the world for me, dude. I could not get it.
I'm laughing just at the visual of you, like, there in the chair, knocked out, mouth half open, light snore, and people walking by like, look at this asshole.
I doubt I was snoring. And like, fortunately, there was one person in a seat. Like, I was in the handicap seats because I saw it in Braintree. There was one person in the handicaps to my left, and then there wasn't really anybody else that closely around me. So I doubt I was disturbing anybody. you know.
Yeah.
Um, and I think I woke up like right when the movie ended, so it was like I have a pretty good like idea. I don't sleep when people are around me. Like I can't sleep with people like walking around me and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think that like instantly woke me up that I could feel like people moving around me. So I don't even know that like I was still one of the first people out of the theater.
Okay.
Because as soon as I realized like fuck, I'd been asleep this whole time, I was like, I need to get the fuck out of here. Like, because I had like that subtle embarrassment to myself of like, damn, like I've been sleeping this whole time. Like I don't want to make eye contact with anybody. Get the fuck out, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I can't rank it. For what I saw of it, like well acted from Dev Patel. The one action scene was pretty good that was in it, but it just took forever to get there. Like it just felt like it was super dry getting to where it was, and the action wasn't good enough that I was like, oh damn, like I'm looking forward to where this is going. So I think that's why I accepted falling asleep.
Okay.
Do you have anything for the taste test?
Uh, 2 weeks since our last recordings, and I have 3 things.
Okay, hit me.
We'll start with I watched Baby Driver.
Oh, fantastic movie.
Really?
You didn't like it?
So I liked it, and I remember loving it the first time. But then I was just watching it, and I was like, "This is a lot cheesier and like poorly acted than I remember."
I think seeing it in the movies was huge for me because like
Okay.
the soundtrack is fantastic,
Yeah.
and I thought all the acting performances, like Jamie Foxx, is really good in it. So
Mm.
is in what is it, Kevin Spacey? Yeah, Kevin Spacey was good in it as well. R.I.P. to his career, but like he was
Yeah.
good in that. You didn't, so you didn't like it? Damn,
I like it. I just thought the acting was weak.
was he a good driver?
Sure.
You weren't impressed by that either. Damn.
I think
He's
all
not
the
the
driving
transporter you
scenes
prefer.
were fun. Um, but yeah, I would definitely prefer Transporter.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess I'll rewatch at some point and see if it
Yeah.
changes my mind. What else do you have?
It was really a racing movie kind of week for me. Because then I watched Ford versus Ferrari.
I s- no, I have seen that. I have watched that. It's very good.
It's really good. Yeah.
The acting is phenomenal. The race scenes are very good in it too.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
it's one I didn't see in the theater that I wish I did.
yeah. I mean, this was still one I watched at home with headphones on, so I can still kind of get that scope since I don't have like a super cool audio system like they do in the theaters. But
Yeah, I've seen some really good sound demos done from that movie.
yeah, no, I think that movie also, like being a car guy, right, gives you a really good balance of like the story and the actual racing, and I think both on both ends is very satisfying.
What was like you've just been into cars? Like you've always been into cars, but like what kind of led to being like a racing movie week?
Well, so I don't know how I ended up watching Baby Driver, but after that, I was like, damn, I kind of want to watch more car shit. And then I had remembered you telling me that Ford versus Ferrari was good, and I had still never seen it, so I decided to look it up and watch it.
Have you ever seen the movie Driver or
Driver
Driven? Maybe. Hold on.
or Drive, talking about the Gosling
No,
one,
no. Driven. Maybe you
2001,
should.
Stallone.
Yeah, maybe you should watch that.
Shit, okay, that's on Stars. I haven't seen that one yet. You're laughing. Is it bad? Oh fuck, it is. 14% on Rotten Tomatoes, dude.
Dude, it's Stallone though, so
No, 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 no. Like we take what Rotten Tomatoes says with a grain of salt, but 14% tells me it's bad. 33%
Stallone,
audience score, bad.
Stallone and Burt Reynolds, brother. Come on, you got to give it a go.
Is it one of those like it's so bad it's good?
I mean, I haven't watched it in a million years, but I don't hate it.
Okay, that's enough for me. I might check it out.
They drive F1 cars in the rain in the streets.
Okay, yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah, so give it a go, dude.
check it out. And then
Maybe I'll watch it again. I think I have it on DVD.
like physical DVD.
Yeah, physical DVD.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Boomer.
Was the third movie you watched a racing movie?
Yep.
Okay, what was that?
Rush.
Another fantastic movie.
It's a great movie, and it was a great follow up after Ford vs Ferrari because I feel like they both are very similar.
Speaking of driving F1 cars in the rain.
Yeah. Yeah, that movie was fucking amazing. I love like the whole rivalry between your two lead characters there, and again,
And the fact
great
that it's
balance
true
of like
story. Like,
yeah, because like after I watched like an interview from like the guy that it was like portraying, and like he was saying like that movie was basically 80% accurate. The only thing that was a little off was they made him out to be more of an asshole than he actually is.
yeah,
And
but you have to do that. Like,
yeah,
because you have to have like a hero and a villain. You know.
yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen that in a few years, but I do very much. It's one of Hemsworth's best roles, I think. I thought like it's one of those ones where you're like, wow, this guy actually is like a very good actor. Actor, like,
Yeah.
he can do real shit, not just like Thor, you know, or Extraction.
I guess that's where like superhero movies become your identity, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and it's not a bad thing. Like he's very good as Thor. I don't mean it to be like an insult, but
Yeah.
you don't necessarily think of Marvel movies aren't always first thought of as like acting roles, and especially the Thor character I don't think is known for its acting as much,
No. Yeah, it's more of just like a blind action or a comedic character.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah,
Rank them. Marry, fuck, kill them, actually.
that's a tough one. I mean, of the three, I'm definitely gonna kill Baby Driver.
Okay.
Marry and fuck, damn. I think I'm gonna marry Rush and fuck Ford versus Ferrari.
Which one would you fuck first, the Ford or the Ferrari?
Ford.
Okay. All right. You want to
In that time frame, I mean, I prefer the Ford vehicles.
I thought you liked
the ones that were racing.
I thought you wanted to save the class of the Ferrari for last.
Oh, I just can't afford to take her to dinner first. That's the only problem.
No, that's bad. That's bad. All right, so we're gonna marry Rush, fuck Ford versus Ferrari, and kill Baby Driver.
Yeah, sorry, baby.
Okay, and I have one more thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I finished Pretty Little Liars.
Oh, you actually did it.
I did it. I want the people to know, because we weren't able to pod last week also, that I got to season 7 by the time we would have recorded last week.
And then lingered on the last few episodes.
I did. It's pretty fucking good, dude. Like,
Really?
I'm not gonna lie to the people out there. It had me, dude. I mean, for me to make it through, I did 7 seasons. I did 160 episodes in under a month, in like 3 weeks, basically. Dude,
It's kind of
like,
gross, honestly.
I had days off and I didn't sleep for a couple days, basically. Like, I was just up till like 9 a.m. watching, because like I was like, fuck, I need to keep going. Like, I need to get through. Like, I need to know where this is going. Like, I kept powering through. Good twists and turns throughout it. Satisfying enough season finale. Like, I did like the ending is a little weird as far as like final reveal stuff, but overall, I really liked all the main characters. I thought that the chemistry between the main cast was all really, really good. There wasn't really a bad season out of any of them. I enjoyed where in season 6 and 7, they do a 5-year time jump. So you spend like 5 seasons with them in high school, and then you get 5 years later where they haven't necessarily been together through these 5 years, and you've got a little bit more of an evolution of their friendships and, like their characters and the growth, and like I thought that refreshed the series for the last couple seasons, which was nice. There was some, I think season 5 maybe like had some of the best stuff of the whole show. Um, yeah, I definitely enjoyed it quite a bit. And I would recommend it. I didn't know if I was going to recommend it, but I think if you like the whodunit nature of some of stuff, and you can, it becomes more adult definitely in the later seasons. I don't know if it's because like it went, like the freeform channel went through changes or whatever, but it definitely becomes a little bit more adult. But it's got some like subtle horror stuff. You know what kind of reminded me of Dante, in all honesty, without the supernatural stuff, is Nancy Drew. It did remind me of Nancy Drew, but without as much of the supernatural. Yeah. But it has like it's definitely some tense scenes, some scary scenes. It's got a little bit of like a slasher horror film thing to it, which I thought was nice. And like characters that you don't ever really know. You don't always know. They do a good job of like tipping you in one direction for like this person being the bad guy, and then like them chasing after that to then find out it's not them, and you just constantly being unaware, unsure of who is going after these girls. So
Fuck. I hate you now.
good, dude. And you know what's
you've
crazy?
Got me intrigued, and I don't know if I could sit through 160 episodes.
Yeah,
that'll be all I talk about on the taste test for the next 2 months.
It's a commitment, dude. It is a commitment. And you know what's crazy? There is a sequel series.
Oh,
yeah. There's already one season of it out on Max, and season 2 comes out at the end of May.
Is it still called Pretty Little Liars?
It's called. It is, but it is called. Hold on. Pretty Little Liars Summer School.
Hmm.
It's a whole new cast. It's 20 years in the future. I guess like 20 years since all that stuff happened from the original movie. And
now one of their kids killed somebody, huh?
I was looking and it doesn't look like any of the characters are their kids, because I was trying to see if like any of the people from the show were like parents on this or anything.
Yeah.
But I think the reality is the people in the show are still in their mid-20s. They're not like that. The people from the original show are not that old, you know?
Gotcha.
But yeah, I'm going to now watch season 1 of PLL Summer School in preparation for the second season.
Somehow you abbreviating it just made it sound worse.
Brother, I think sometimes a name can be tough, but I can't let that always dictate how I feel about a show, you know? Okay. And is it embarrassing when I tell people I've been watching Pretty Little Liars? Yeah. Yeah, that's embarrassing. I totally get that.
But you've gotten through that by openly telling everybody you love rom-coms.
Yeah, and like I don't think that it should be a problem. Like I think it should be okay, and it feels okay. And I think if you go into the show and just watch it, like it's good. I will say that like I wish the seasons were a little tighter at times, because that's the most daunting thing about watching it, is being like 10 episodes into a season and being like there's 15 more to get through this season is is a lot. The last couple seasons are only 20 episodes, which felt a little better, I think, to be honest. But I think that they just do enough during the whole show to keep you interested, to keep you locked in. So I recommend people. I recommend if you are looking for something that's a binge show that you can, like, to Dante's point, not like what I did. Like, most people aren't going to do what I did, where it's like finish it as fast as fucking possible. But like if you're looking for something that
like you just disregard your sleep schedule for this shit.
I mean, well, to be fair, today I slept from around 7:30 in the morning till 3:30 in the afternoon. That was my 8 hours of sleep.
That's the problem.
Yeah, yeah. Because last night at midnight, I started watching the final 6 episodes of the show, and was up. Yeah, and the sun was coming up when the show ended.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
Oh.
my days off, it's like I mostly do everything at nighttime, and I just I sleep during my days. I don't know.
Hey man, it works for you, right?
It does. I enjoy it. I don't really like if I like. There's not a lot to do during the day. Like people work and shit. So like most of the stuff I want to do is at nighttime, anyways. You know.
Sure.
The one thing I will say that is nice is being done with this is that like yeah, like the work night stuff not being up till 4 a.m. and like trying to fall asleep by like 1:30 and 2 will be nice. Like that
Stuck
it'd be
in
nice
the
to get
one
more
more
on that.
episode trap.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
getting past that'll be good. So I like that's cool, you know. Okay, you had nothing else for the taste test, right?
No.
Me neither. So, sorry we missed a week, people. I think we gave you a fucking long one this week, though. Chocked full of shit. Again, watch Civil War if you haven't yet. Go check it out. It's worth going to the movies for. A list. It's not a bad time to subscribe. You're coming up on like your April, May, June, July is going to be a lot of stuff to go see. That'll definitely make the investment worth it. $20 a month, and you'll probably be able to see 2 to 3 movies of the month that are very good. Next week, we will be back with. I want to see what's the vampire movie name again?
Oh, Abigail.
Yeah, so Abigail will be a definite this week, and then also League of Extraordinary People or something like that. I don't know what the fuck it's called, but the Henry Cavill movie will be another one. We'll come back with probably both of those next week. I have to imagine. I know I will be going out of my way to see them. I assume you'll see them as well, Dante.
Yeah, I mean, I have to. I got to keep my count higher than yours.
Yeah, I mean, but I got some sneaky stuff coming up, my man. So
Yeah.
don't think you got me forever, dude.
Hey, bro, I'm more willing to watch the bullshit movies than you are.
I don't know that that's true because I have a more diverse catalog than you.
We'll see about that come the end of the year.
Yeah, can't wait, dude. Who do you think's gonna win out there, people? Me or Dante? I think we all know the real answer here, but
yeah, me.
Who's gonna win?
Yeah, I got it unlocked.
But if you could, again, if you haven't yet, like, comment, share, subscribe down below. Check us out on Letterboxd. Go see our scores and rankings for the year so far. Follow us on socials at For Those With Good Taste on Instagram, at Good Taste Live on Twitter or X, and at FTWGT on TikTok. Dante, have you streamed?
No, sir.
I didn't think so. It's fine, though. No big deal. And until next week, people, we bid you Folie, adieu. Bang. We love you. Peace out.
For those with good taste.